Congratulations to Luka Doncic for being named Best NBA Player at the ESPYs last night.
We all knew it.
As he should have won MVP, but he didn't. But a nice little consolation here for him after a great regular season and playoff run. So he wins that award. I'm just glad, Coop, that he's resting because Slovenia didn't make the Olympics.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him in the Olympics, but at the end of the day, it's probably best that he's getting that rest. Type those 77s down in the comments to congratulate our boy Luka. He is the best player in the NBA.
He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I'm Harrison Graham, back from vacation.
Welcome back.
Appreciate that. And shout out to you and whoever else at Chat Sports
Joey Peterson.
Holding down the fort.
Joey Peterson was my co-pilot last week, so we had a lot of fun, but we are glad to have you back in the saddle.
Fellow Mavs fan, Joey Peterson. That's good stuff. And kind of in a standstill, Coop, in NBA free agency. The Mavs technically have one roster spot open. Could have two if they decided to cut A.J. Lawson. Obviously got Summer League coming up as well. And, we wanted to look at 5 point guard targets that the Mavs could opt to sign later on in the process if they want to fill that last roster spot.
Yeah, they kind of did the same thing last year where they waited until basically August to sign Dante Exum. So I wonder if they're just going to see what the market does and let it play out and see where it goes from there. There are still some pretty decent names there available for the Mavs to sign, and I think their thinking is, well, these guys are probably going to be available in August if they're still available by now.
They signed Derrick Jones pretty late last year.
They did.
So usually there's still some decent players out there late in the process. Let's start with the familiar face, Spencer Dinwiddie, who, of course, spent last year, the end of last year with the Lakers. Was down to Dallas and L.A. He chose wrong. But
bad business decision.
He could fix that here. He played really well for the Mavs a couple of years ago on into that playoff run. He knows the system. He's a bigger guard as well, so he can play a little on and off ball. So I would be intrigued with him. This really comes down to one thing, Coop. Where do they feel Jaden Hardy is entering next year? Because I thought he showed some good things in the playoffs, not so much in the finals run, but before that, as a ball handler and creator that we hadn't seen a ton of. Do they trust him to be at 20 minutes off the bench where he's running the show for at least half of those minutes? If not, I think a guy like Dinwiddie, he can run the offense. He's a good ball handler, can facilitate. So it really comes down to that for me because Dante Exum isn't going to be a major facilitator. So do you want that third facilitator after Luka and Kyrie? Or do you think Jaden Hardy can hold that fort down?
And I think the answer is yes, even if you have belief that Jaden Hardy can be that guy as well. I just think you can't have enough ball handling, especially at the end of the roster. You're just looking for guys that have specific traits, and I think the Mavs are looking for a guy who can handle the rock. So I believe this is the way they're going to go with that final roster spot. It's just a matter of who they sign and when they sign them. Another guy we've talked about here on the channel, Patrick Beverley. Look, he's going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season. You know that he comes with the shenanigans, but he still can defend and he can still be a vocal leader on a team that is trying to win a championship. They added Klay Thompson with the veteran leadership. Patrick Beverley also brings that.
Yeah, look, he's not going to be a Dinwiddie type where he can run the show offensively, but he's the defensive stopper. He's a respectable enough three-point shooter where you can't leave him wide open. He brings tenacity to a locker room. He always finds himself in the playoffs. So, I'd be interested in him. There's been prior interest between Dallas and Beverley before. Maybe this is the time that they come together and make something work. How about Cameron Payne, a.k.a. Terry Johnson?
If you know, you know.
The real ones know. If you don't, Google it. Cam Payne, who way back when was with the Mavs on the Summer League, bounced around, kind of found a nice role in Phoenix a few years ago, was pretty good with Philadelphia last year too. He's not as explosive of a guard as Dinwiddie, but he can run point. He can shoot the 3 ball pretty well. So, again, I would prefer Dinwiddie. He's a bigger guard. He gives you more dynamic ball handling and just attacking ability, but Payne isn't a bad option either.
Yeah, he's a lefty guy he's more of a ball handler type who has an outside shot. He's more of the Spencer Dinwiddie role than Patrick Beverley would play, but he lost a little explosiveness, played okay for the Sixers last year. He's just another guy who I think is a veteran minimum. I don't even think you're using the mid-level exception on a guy like Cam Payne.
Yeah, I agree. We're almost at 30,000 subscribers.
Help us out.
Appreciate the love and support. we'd love to get there as soon as possible. If you want Mavericks coverage on the daily, news, rumors, free agency buzz, trades, we cover it all. Hit that sub button. Let's get it popping. All right, next up is Markelle Fultz, an interesting name, obviously. Things did not work out in Philadelphia. Then he kind of got it rolling a little bit in Orlando. Now he's just kind of okay. I don't think he's a rotation guy in a playoff series, but I think he can help you in the regular season. He's got a decent little mid-range game, can get downhill a little bit. Obviously can handle the ball. Certainly has never lived up to being that number 1 overall pick, but he's had a decent-ish career since leaving Philadelphia. He's had some injuries too, though, so that's a concern.
Yeah, he had his best career year was in 22-23 with the Magic, where he averaged 14 points and 6 assists. Last year, he only played in 43 games and averaged about 8 points. He was still okay from the field, but he can't shoot threes at all. He was just 22% from 3 last year, so he's very limited, but he's a combo guard. He can still defend a little bit, like you said. Never really lived up to that number 1 pick billing, but has carved out a decent NBA career for himself.
He's also still pretty young. What is he, 25? I mean,
he is, yes. He'll be 26 this year.
Yeah, he's still pretty young. The Mavs have done a good job of kind of finding reclamation projects over the years, so maybe they can get him into their building and you can find another gear with him. Who knows?
He might have some hoops ahead of him. We'll have to see. And then, of course, have to talk about our boy Dennis Smith. This has probably been the most talked about Mavericks rumor since they signed Klay Thompson and got Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall. Are they going to bring Dennis Smith Jr. back? He is still a free agent, and I think he gives you the best combination of offensive ability / he's the best defender out of all of these guys.
Yeah, look, he defends as well as Beverley, probably better at this point in each of their respective careers. He's not going to shoot the ball like Spence or Payne, but he's explosive as hell, can get to the rack, can create for others a little bit as well. He's great in the transition game because he's such an explosive athlete, which obviously you lost some of that with Derrick Jones. He could provide a little bit of that from the guard position. So to me, it's very clear that ideally Dinwiddie or Dennis would be one of the guys you
Agreed.
Get, because not that one of the other 3 couldn't help you, but I think those 2 guys give you the best chance of a higher ceiling and potentially a role in the playoffs, right? Like, I don't think Fultz or Payne is doing anything for you in the playoffs. Maybe Beverley is like a matchup defensive guy, but he's not going to play a ton for you in the postseason in all likelihood. Dinwiddie and Dennis Smith have a chance to, though. So I would look at one of those 2 guys if there's mutual interest.
Let us know which one you want the Mavs to sign down in the comments. Do you want a reunion with the likes of Spencer Dinwiddie or Dennis Smith, or would you want to go a new route like Patrick Beverley, Payne, or Markelle Fultz? Go ahead down there and let us know down below.
And let's talk a little Summer League on the way out. Coop gets going tomorrow in Las Vegas. Mavs, Jazz. Omax is playing, so that's exciting. I still don't get, why is Walker Kessler playing for the Jazz?
I'm not sure.
Are they trying to
boost his trade value? But does that even help you?
Unless he goes and averages 15 and 15 in the Summer League with 3 blocks, is he going to boost? I don't get that, but some notable players playing in this. I'm excited to watch my boy Emmanuel Miller as well. I think a decent candidate for a 2-way spot. We saw Brandon Williams. I know you broke down that news. He's the only 2-way right now, right?
Yeah, Brandon Williams is the only 2-way.
So you have 2 spots.
2 spots available. They signed the other guy, Jersey on Gortman, the other day. He is an Exhibit 10. He's going to be on the roster.
He'll be a candidate to get a 2-way.
Melvin Aginsa is supposed to play as well, so we'll see what happens. There's some intriguing guys. I actually broke down the top 5 Summer League players to watch on the Mavericks roster earlier in the week, so go ahead and check that one out as well.
Do you think 2 questions before we get out of here. One, is there a scenario where they cut A.J. Lawson and he's back on a 2-way? Is he still eligible to be a 2-way guy?
He is, I believe. So that's definitely an option, and if they don't find anyone, that wouldn't surprise me. And I would also say that Miller is probably the leading candidate for the 3rd spot.
And then Ajinka, which we still haven't clarified.
We don't know.
We'll see. Could he play on a 2-way, or do we still expect him to go back to France?
He could play on a 2-way, but all reports indicate he will be back in Europe next season.
He'd have to really play well in this for them to bring him over. And quite frankly, if it's for a 2-way or go back to France, he might just go back to France and then try to be on the regular roster.
Yeah, and you're getting more money over there anyways if he goes over to France for a full-time roster spot. But yeah, I'm excited to see him play regardless because he was a Mavericks draft pick, so that holds some intrigue for me.
All right, we'll keep tabs on Summer League, so be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
See ya.